Who are you when the roles fall away? When the job title, the relationship status, the social mask, the curated online version of yourself, all dissolve. Who is left? We spend our lives building identities like fortresses, carefully constructed, brick by emotional brick. We shape ourselves to be seen, to be loved, to be understood. But what if I told you that the self you've built, the one you cling to, is the very thing standing in the way of your freedom? Real awakening isn't some radiant, blissful explosion. It's not a mountaintop of golden light or a perfect state of peace. It's something much quieter and far more devastating. It's the unraveling of everything you thought you were. It's the sacred undoing. You were taught to believe that awakening would feel like arrival, as if you'd finally become the best version of yourself. But in truth, awakening is more like death. The death of illusion, the death of control, the death of identity, the death of that voice in your head that whispers, you need to be more, you need to be better, you need to hold it all together. Awakening begins when that voice breaks, when you no longer believe everything it says. You may feel lost, you may feel empty, you may feel like you're falling through yourself, and in a way, you are. Because the scaffolding you've clung to, the ego's architecture, starts to crumble. And when it does, what's revealed underneath isn't a perfected self, but a silence, a stillness, a vastness. It's disorienting, it's lonely, it's terrifying, but it's also the first true taste of freedom. We've been conditioned to believe that to be someone is to be safe, that to be no one is to be invisible, meaningless. But in the sacred fire of awakening, these roles, these identities, burn away, and in their ashes, something deeper emerges, something that cannot be named, something that was never born and will never die, the still presence beneath the storm. We often begin this journey in suffering. The mind spins, the heart aches, and we grasp for control. We think if we just understand more, fix more, heal faster, try harder, we can escape the pain. We try to outthink our way out of our own humanity. But healing is not a sprint, and awakening is not an escape. It is a surrender. So much of our pain comes not from the wound itself, but from the way we resist it. The shame, the avoidance, the endless narratives we spin around it. We are haunted not by what happened, but by what we believe it means about us. We become prisoners of our own interpretation. We are like the sky, believing we are the storm. But the sky does not fear the thunder. It does not try to stop the lightning. It allows it. It holds it. It passes through it. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Now listen, not with your ears, but with your awareness, beneath the noise of your mind. What is there? Not words, not thought, just presence. That is you. Not the name, not the history, not the roles, just this moment, this being, this awareness. Always here, even when forgotten. We chase peace like it's somewhere else, as if it's hidden in a future version of ourselves. But peace is not something you earn. Peace is what remains when everything you're not falls away. When you stop striving, stop performing, stop pretending. Peace is what greets you. And yet, we resist this death. We resist because we've been taught that survival means control. We've learned to clutch, to grip the narrative of who we are like it's life itself. But ego is not life. Ego is memory. It is the past dressed up as identity. It is the voice that says, I am this and not that, when in truth, you are all of it and none of it. You are not the thought that says, I'm broken. You are the awareness that sees that thought arise and pass away. You are not the fear. You are the space in which fear lives and moves and changes. That space is unbreakable. It cannot be touched by failure or success. It does not judge. It simply is. So what happens when you stop trying to fix yourself? What if there is nothing to fix? What if your sadness isn't a flaw to be cured, but a sacred signal? What if your anxiety is not a malfunction, but a messenger asking you to slow down, to feel, to listen? We numb, we distract, we run, because to sit in silence with ourselves terrifies us. But healing lives in that silence. Truth lives there, and it whispers, not in volume, but in stillness. You were never broken. You were just buried. Buried under expectation, under performance, under a lifetime of trying to be enough. But enough is not something you become. It's something you already are. The journey of awakening is not about self-improvement. It's about self-remembrance. It's the peeling away of everything false, everything forced, everything fear-built. And what's left is truth. Naked, simple, unshakable. But truth is not always kind to the ego. It's not always comfortable. Truth doesn't flatter. Truth strips. And so the process of waking up feels at first like falling apart. There may be grief for the person you thought you were. There may be rage at the systems that shaped you. There may be fear of the emptiness that follows letting go. But keep going. The emptiness is not a void, it's a clearing. The grief is not a problem. It's proof you've touched something real. You are returning to the part of you that was never confused, never separate, never afraid, to the quiet knowing that lives in your chest, beneath the noise, to the breath that does not ask for permission to move through you, to the presence that watches all things and clings to none. You are not here to become anything. You are here to remember. Let go of the striving, let go of the mask, let go of the story. You are not the character in your head. You are the awareness watching the play. And when the curtain falls, when the roles dissolve, when the spotlight fades, what remains is you, the real you. Not the dream, but the dreamer. Not the wave, but the ocean. Not the storm, but the silent sky. If you've made it this far, it means something in you is ready. Ready to stop running. Ready to stop pretending, ready to meet yourself, not the edited version, not the story, not the dream, but the raw, unfiltered, honest presence that has been quietly waiting beneath all the noise. But let's not romanticize this process. Awakening is not a spiritual highlight reel. It's not all incense and mantras and sunrises over mountaintops. It's gritty. It's confronting. It demands that you sit in the ashes of everything you've burned and still choose to remain. There is a loneliness that comes when the old self dies, when the mask falls, when the comforts of certainty vanish. Because suddenly the world you once knew, the one built by the ego, no longer makes sense. The things that used to matter begin to feel hollow. The roles you used to play lose their script. The people around you might look confused, distant, even threatened by your change. Because something in you is no longer participating in the lie. You're no longer feeding the illusion. And in a world built on masks, authenticity becomes rebellion. There may be moments when you wonder, was it easier to stay asleep? But something deeper always answers, yes, but not truer. And truth, even when it hurts, liberates. It cuts away the unnecessary. It cleanses. It makes space for what is real. You see, we've been conditioned to fear the dark, but in awakening you learn something strange and beautiful. The dark is not the enemy. It is the womb. The silence you feared is where rebirth begins. Close your eyes again. Take a slow, gentle breath. Notice the thoughts that rise without clinging to any of them. What if, just for now, you didn't believe the next thought? What if you allowed everything, the shame, the guilt, the uncertainty, to be here without needing to fix or solve it? That is presence. That is love in its purest form, not the kind of love that rescues or repairs, but the kind that stays, the kind that holds you in the mess, the kind that says, even here you are whole. We've been taught that love must be earned, that we must become lovable, worthy, perfect. But that's a lie built on pain. The truth is, love isn't something you receive. It's what you are when the armor drops. Beneath every defense is tenderness. Beneath every rage is heartbreak. Beneath every wall is a longing to be seen, to be held, to be real. Awakening isn't about transcending your humanity. It's about reclaiming it. The tears, the doubts, the aching desire to be known, not for your performance, but for your presence. That is sacred. And so you begin the descent, not into darkness, but into depth. You stop seeking the light above, and instead begin finding it within. You enter the quiet cavern of your own being, and discover, to your surprise, that what you feared was never emptiness. It was space. Space to breathe, space to grieve, space to forgive, space to rest. We are not here to be perfect. We are here to be real, to break when we break, to shake when we're afraid, to speak when we're silent too long, to fall apart and still be worthy of love. The soul doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in feeling, in stillness, in sudden clarity that cannot be explained. And so when you feel lost, when you feel like you're unraveling, I invite you to remember, this too is part of the path. There is wisdom in the unraveling. There is healing in the hollowing. There is grace in the grief. Let yourself be emptied. Let the old stories dissolve. Let the ache stretch you open, because something holy is trying to enter. You cannot carry it with clenched fists. You must release. Release the need to know. Release the old identities. Release the illusion that you are alone in this. You are not. The same presence that breathes the trees, that moves the oceans, that spins the stars, breathes through you. You are not separate from life. You are life, waking up to itself. The mind may resist. It may scream, but who am I if not this name? This body? This story? And the answer is not something you can think. It's something you must feel. You are not the wave. You are the ocean wearing a momentary form. You are not the leaf. You are the tree dreaming of separation. When you remember this, not as a concept, but as a knowing, the world changes. Not because it becomes easier, but because you no longer seek safety in illusion. You find safety in presence. You walk through grief with soft eyes. You meet pain with an open hand. You face fear and no longer bow to it. This is true power, not the power to dominate or to win, but the power to be undefended, the power to remain soft in a hard world, the power to be love even when it's not returned. This is what the ego cannot grasp, because the ego believes strength is protection. But the soul knows strength is vulnerability. And so your healing may look strange. It may not look like achievement. It may not look like success. It may look like crying on the kitchen floor. It may look like finally saying no. It may look like resting, like doing nothing, like choosing peace over proving. That is medicine. That is awakening. Not a chase, but a return. Not a journey forward, but a falling inward into the truth of who you've always been. The child who once felt unworthy. The teenager who learned to hide. The adult who built 1,000 masks. All of them are calling for your attention. Not to be judged, not to be erased, but to be loved. Wholeness is not perfection. Wholeness is inclusion. It is welcoming every part of yourself to the table, even the parts that hurt, especially the parts that hurt. This is the paradox of awakening. You don't become something new. You become what you were before the world told you to be something else. So pause now, feel your breath without controlling it. Notice the quiet beat beneath your chest. That rhythm has been here the whole time. You just forgot to listen. And maybe, just maybe, that's what awakening really is. A remembrance, a listening, a falling back into what never left. No fireworks, no applause, just the steady heartbeat of truth calling you home. The real you was never lost, just buried, under pain, under programming, under pressure. But no more. Now, you rise, not as a new version of yourself, but as the truth, stripped bare of illusion, naked, vulnerable, whole. Not more, not better, just real. And maybe that's all awakening ever needed to be. There comes a moment on the path, quiet, unannounced, when you stop searching for the light and begin to realize that you are the light, not in a grand cosmic performance, but in the smallest, most ordinary way, in the way you breathe, in the way you forgive, in the way you choose silence over reaction, in the way you offer presence when there's nothing to gain. It's not a moment the world will celebrate, but your soul will know, and it will weep, not from sadness, but from relief. Because after all the struggle, all the pretending, all the grasping, you've come back. Back to the place that never judged you. Back to the center that was never broken. Back to the stillness that holds everything, yet clings to nothing. Awakening does not give you control over life. It gives you something deeper. Peace with what is. You no longer need to fix the waves. You become the shore. You no longer need to chase meaning. You become meaning itself. You no longer need to fight the darkness. You understand that the light was born there. And in this understanding, you soften. You soften your grip on how things should be. You soften your voice when you speak to yourself. You soften your heart toward the version of you that didn't know any better. Because now you see, you were never wrong. You were simply learning, growing, searching for home in places that couldn't hold you. But you hold you now. Close your eyes. One more time. Let the breath come and go. No forcing, no shaping, just presence. Notice what's here, not the thoughts about it, not the analysis, just this. Maybe it's a feeling in your chest, a tightness in your belly, a flicker of emotion rising and fading. Don't label it. Don't push it away. Just be with it. This is the practice. Not to transcend yourself, but to include yourself, to be so radically present with what is that even your pain feels seen. This is what heals. Not avoidance, not spiritual bypassing, not pretending you're above it all, but the courage to sit in the fire and know you are not burning. You are being forged. The mind will still offer its commentary. It will still whisper fears, comparisons, doubts. But now you know, you are not the voice. You are the awareness of it. Thoughts will rise like clouds in a vast sky. But the sky does not chase them. The sky remains, spacious, untouched, eternal. That is your true nature. You don't have to silence the storm. You only have to remember, you are the sky. And in that remembrance, you stop trying to escape. You stop needing to be anything other than this. Because this breath, this moment, this presence is enough. No longer performing, no longer hiding, no longer waiting for permission to rest. You are allowed to be soft. You are allowed to not know. You are allowed to begin again, every moment, every breath. Awakening doesn't crown you, it strips you. It takes away everything false, everything borrowed, everything imposed. And what remains is honest, raw, sacred. Maybe you'll cry for what was lost. Maybe you'll grieve the life you built on stories. But then, you'll smile. Not because it's all okay, but because you are okay, even when it's not. This is maturity of spirit. To walk through hell without hardening. To hold both sorrow and joy in the same palm. To trust life even when it doesn't make sense. There will be days when you forget. when the old self reappears, when fear gets loud again. Let it. That too is part of the rhythm. The tide goes out and returns. Just don't shame yourself for being human. Don't make a god of your breakdowns or a villain of your healing. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. And maybe, just maybe, all of this has been grace in disguise. Every heartbreak, every delay, every shadow you had to walk through alone. Maybe the pain was never punishment. Maybe it was the pressure that broke the shell of who you weren't, so the truth could finally breathe. Maybe the collapse was the beginning of the becoming. Maybe the chaos was the doorway to clarity. Maybe the silence was not empty, but full of answers. We live in a world obsessed with becoming someone, but awakening invites you to unbecome, to subtract until only presence remains. What if you didn't need to add more to your life? What if you needed to remove everything that isn't truly you? The pretending, the rushing, the proving, the shame. And what would be left? Stillness, depth, peace, you. Not the image of you, not the idea, but the aliveness that no label can hold. That is what you've been searching for, not outside, but within, always within. And now, as the noise begins to quiet, as the striving starts to fall away, you begin to see clearly. You were never broken, only buried. You were never unworthy, only asleep. You were never separate, only believing you were. And now you return, not to a perfect life, but to a true one. And that is enough. Let these final words echo in the chambers of your heart. You are not the story. You are the space the story arises in. You are not the pain. You are the love that holds it. You are not the identity. You are the infinite witnessing it. So breathe. Feel your feet on the earth. Feel your heart in your chest. Feel your presence, not as something to attain, but something to remember. Welcome home. You never truly left. You only forgot. And now, you remember. A gentle breath. A quiet nod to yourself. Not to the person you were, but to the one who has always been watching. Here. Now, forever. You are whole. You are enough. You are free. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that is awakening. I am not who I thought I was. I am who I've always been. Beneath thought, beneath name, beneath fear. I am presence. I am peace. I am home.